guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a high-end products that are worth the splurge video. I'm just gonna give you a rundown of a few products that I have purchased at some point in history and think are worth the relatively higher price tag. If you guys have not subscribed already to my channel, go ahead and do so. I would love to have you stick around and watch some more videos. Also give this video a like if you enjoy this type of video. I am also going to have a blog post, which I always do nowadays with my videos, that corresponds with the video, has lists of products, links out to where you can find certain things, sometimes photos of things and swatches and stuff like that. So anyway, if you guys want to see that kind of stuff, I will link it down below. And let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I have to talk about is something that is not new. People have been using this for quite a few years, especially here on YouTube, but it is the Tarte blush formula. I like the single blushes much better than I like the ones that come in any kind of set, because sometimes Tarte in the past has been one of those brands where they will actually sort of like outsource their production of certain like limited edition sets and palettes, but different factory, different formula, and they're not as good all of the time. So I really think that it's just safest to stick with the single ones. That's just my opinion. This shade is called Celebrated. I really like it because it's kind of like this dusty rose, and I think it's really nice. I'm wearing it today and I feel like it's just not too pink. Like for me, I really don't love blushes that are overly pink, because they just make me look like a corpse bride a little bit. So I like this one because it's a really soft pink and it's got that dusty, cool kind of tone to it. So I really, really enjoy it. A lot of people like the shade Exposed, which I think is just kind of like a little browner and a little darker than this one. Tarte does have some really like outrageous, really bright shades, which, you know, they're the same formula. So I would say if you like those shades, go for it. But I tend to stick with this kind of a sort of thing. Situation. What am I talking about? English, Sarah. Okay, this next one I consider to be less of like a high-end brand and more of a luxury brand. So in my view of the makeup world, there are like a bunch of different levels. There's not just drugstore and high-end. There's like drugstore, and then there's like affordable but awesome, where I would throw brands like ColourPop and Makeup Geek that are not drugstore. They're reliably good, but they're more affordable. Then I would say MAC, and I would say that's kind of like first getting into makeup, you know, really good for teenagers, but kind of getting into the nice, more like high-end, artistic kind of colors and shades and stuff like that, and different like artistry focused types of products are available from MAC, but they're not as expensive as a lot of like the Sephora brands. And then there's like the Sephora brands where not Sephora collection, but like their artistry brands like Makeup Forever, NARS, stuff like that. And just the way that I see it, the next kind of step up is going to be like your luxury brands. So that's like Dior, Givenchy, Charlotte Tilbury, and these brands I kind of have like a love-hate with, because most of the time they each have like a couple really good products and the rest of them are totally not worth the money. It's just like you're paying for the name and that's pretty much it. And the packaging is really pretty a lot of the times. But let's talk about Charlotte for a minute. So this is Charlotte Tilbury. This is her cream shadow. They call it Eyes to Mesmerize. It's in this little pot. I like the packaging a lot. It's really, really nice and classy. This shade is called Marie Antoinette, and it's kind of like this gold, like almost bronze, like goldy, like between gold and bronze, and it is a cream eyeshadow. And what I really love about this one is that I have such a hard time finding cream eyeshadows that are actually a good formula. So a lot of cream eyeshadows, like you kind of blend them and they just fade away. A lot of them crease. A lot of them aren't as pigmented. A lot of them are like, sometimes you put them on your lid and you can't really blend it because it just like stays there. So they kind of like cover unevenly, and I just don't dig that. So it's really, really awesome when you find a cream shadow formula that is really, really good. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna go and buy like 1,000 of these, because I just don't feel like I use cream shadows very much. Sorry, I was falling off my chair. I don't feel like I use cream shadows very much, but it's nice to have one at least in this kind of neutral color. It is kind of shimmery. What I like this for is just if I'm like having a day, or maybe I'm on vacation, or just having a day where I don't want to put on a full makeup look, I can just slap this on my eyelid, basically like the lid, and then up into the crease so that it fades out really nice and smoothly. And then it just kind of covers your eye, hides a lot of like the veins that might show through. I know I have a problem with that because my skin is like transparent, and it kind of gives you this like shimmery, eye-catching effect, and it's really, really pretty. So I like that just for like a one and done throw this on with some mascara and head out the door kind of situation. So I really like that. But I like this formula because it is one that, like I said, blends really nicely and it wears all day. Like, it wears really beautifully. Okay, next is something that I've talked about in a recent video, which I will link up here, but this is a highlighter by Makeup Forever. And I know in the past, a long time ago, I mentioned their like bronzer highlighter, what is it? Highlight Contour Duo, where it's like a little palette or a little compact like this, and then it had like a little like moon-shaped crescent of bronzer and then like a little oval-shaped highlighter, so it was kind of like 2 in 1 pan. And those highlighters are gorgeous, and I am so excited. I am so excited that they came out with the full single pans of just the highlighter, because these, I'm telling you, these are the best, in my opinion. These are the best highlighter formula that Sephora carries. Period. By a long shot. And I will tell you kind of why I feel that way. I really like the BECCA. I would say that before these ones, the BECCA was my favorite highlighter formula at Sephora, although I really do like the Laura Mercier Baked 01, you know what I'm talking about? The rounded kind of powder situation. A couple others, but nothing near this one. You know that the BECCA one is super pigmented, super radiant, really beautiful, and for a while I think it was like groundbreaking and it was like cutting edge in the highlighter world, at least within Sephora. But to me, now that I have certain things to compare to those ones, like the Makeup Geek ones, which I think are incredible, and things like this Makeup Forever one, I think that the BECCA ones, looking back now, are a little bit too powdery. So I've talked about this before, but I feel like you stick your brush in it and you've got way too much on your brush, and it can just go on like a big giant streak if you don't tap off like 3/4 of what is on your brush. And I just feel like that's like, it's fine. They're beautiful highlights, and that's like the least of my worries when it comes to, you know, like the quality of a formula, but it is something that if you can avoid it, why not? This one, I feel like, and as well as the Makeup Geek ones, they don't have that much kick up to where you're gonna like get powder all over the place, get it all over your brush, and just, I feel like these are much easier to control and much easier to work with while still having so much punch, so much radiance, so much pigment. I compared this one to the BECCA formula in Rose Quartz, which I spoke about in my favorites video as well, but I actually think that this one is more beautiful, and that's because I feel like it reflects more types of light than this one does. I feel like this one is very radiant, but this one is like so much more dimensional and so much more dynamic on the skin. I think it's just so much more beautiful. I also feel like these wear a little bit better and longer than the BECCA ones, in addition to being more hardy as a formula. So whereas the BECCA highlighters, if you travel with them, if you drop them, they're very easy to break in comparison to some other products out there. This one is not going to be like that, which I really, really love. Okay, this next one I'm just so excited about. I talked about this really recently. In fact, I think it was in my favorites video. This is the J1 Jelly Pack. It says dramatic firming skin with improved elasticity and pore smoothing. Now, unfortunately, the last time that I was in my Sephora, which was about 2 days ago, this was again sold out. So hopefully you can still get it online, or maybe your store in your area does still have some left. But this has been kind of like going like hotcakes. And I wanted to kind of retouch on this subject of this product because I have been using this as a moisturizer slash primer. In my favorites video, I told you guys how I basically fell in love with this because I went into the Sephora store and was swatching foundations on my hand. My hand was so cracked and dry, and I put this over it because the gal was telling me about it. And then as soon as I applied a foundation with this as the primer, it was so smooth on my skin, which had previously been so cracked and dry and rough like sandpaper, and it looked so amazing that I was like, oh, I gotta have this in my life. There's something in my eye. The worst. And I was talking about this with one of the gals because I was asking if they had any in stock in the back. Turns out they didn't, but she was like, oh my gosh, my daughter loves that stuff. She has oily skin and it is amazing for her oily skin. And I was like, really? Oh, I had no idea this was good for oily skin. And she looked at me like I had 3 heads, because maybe it's supposed to be good for oily skin, but I was like, I have skin that is dry as a desert and I swear by this stuff. And she was like, slightly shocked. I was like, wow, if this is good for oily skin, like I have to tell people this because this stuff is so amazing, and if you can use it, please use it. Go to Sephora and at least get a sample of it, because they do have, at least in the stores that I've been to recently, they do have their testers still out. So you can get a sample of it and try it out. If you love it, order it online or wait for it to come back in stock, but just try it. I just use it in my priming kind of areas, and I just kind of rub it in and then press like this so that it kind of like soaks into your skin really, really quickly. And then it leaves your skin a little bit tacky, and you put your foundation over the top. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's kind of expensive, but I love it. I only use one pump too every day, so it's not like I'm using a ton of this. You don't have to cover your entire face with it, so highly recommend. This next product I have talked about somewhat recently on my channel, but this again is another Makeup Forever product that I just don't think gets enough love. And I remember when I was working at Sephora, this was in like 2013, 2014, I would just go to this product and use it maybe like 90 times a day. Because always, like, if you work at Sephora, you know that like when you have downtime, you're kind of like swatching things, playing with things, talking to your other Sephora cast members and being like, man, did you see this new shade of blah, blah, blah? Like, you always are just trying things on in your downtime. And so I would always go for this guy when I was covered in swatches all over my hands and arms to kind of clean it off. And oh my gosh, this takes off everything. Everything. It's kind of like a lotion consistency, and it is oil free, so I do recommend this for a lot of people who have like eyelash extensions and stuff like that, and they need like an eye makeup remover that does not contain oil. But it is just so gentle and so amazing. I literally don't know how it works. It's like magic. There has to be magic in here somehow, because it is so gentle and so effective at the same time. A lot of times makeup removers that take off like waterproof makeup and really stubborn, like stay all day long wearing makeup, it's kind of like harsh and you have to scrub, or it's very oily. This is not like that at all. Like I said, it's like a lotion kind of texture, and it takes off everything. So I love this so much. It's called Sense Eyes. It just says waterproof sensitive eye cleanser, and it's amazing. This next product is from one of those like luxury brands that I was talking about earlier, but it is kind of one of their handful, small collection of products that I actually think are worth the money. And it's gonna seem totally ridiculous. If you guys have been following me for a long time, you know that I've talked about this product before. I used to use it constantly. I still use it a lot, but like in my tutorials I used to use it constantly. This is the Christian Dior Creme de Rose Lip Balm. It says on the description in Sephora that it's like a smoothing, plumping lip balm. I've never experienced any plumping effects of this ever, which is actually good because I don't like plumping products, period. Anything that's plumping, I'm not even gonna go there. It's also not tingly in any way. It's just so incredibly smooth. This one I've kind of like hit the bottom on, and I hate replacing these because they are $30. $30. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? In my mind, because my skin is so dry, because I breathe through my mouth when I'm sleeping, my lips are just awful. They're so dry. But if I put this on before I go to bed, I wake up and my lips are so soft, which for me to have soft lips is like, it just doesn't happen. It is sold at Sephora. Don't buy it because you will be hooked forever and ever, and you will go broke and your wallet will hate you. This is the best stick foundation I have ever used. I did a video where I compared a bunch of different ones. I'll link it above and down below. And this is my favorite. The other thing that I really, really love and respect about Makeup Forever is their shade range is the best I've ever come across. All right, so that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little collection of high-end makeup products that I think are worth the splurge. If you guys have any additions to add to my little list of products here, leave them in the comments below. I am so curious to know what your opinion of really, really kind of like well worth it high-end products are, because I'm always looking for those. So anyway, don't forget to go ahead and check out the blog post as well. I link it down below, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!